Welcome back, children, to the fourth part of Class 10 Political Science, Chapter 7 Outcomes of Democracy. In the previous part, we had discussed about the economic growth and development in a democratic country. While understanding the economic outcome in democracy, we also came across with the differences in the economic growth of all democratic regimes and the dictatorial regimes. In spite of seeing the differences, still we could find that people, if given a chance, would always prefer to democracy as a form of government rather than any other form of government. Today, we will look into the topics like how reduction of inequality and poverty is possible in democracy, and also about the accommodation of social diversity in democracy under the social outcomes of democracy. So let us continue with reduction of inequality and poverty. Children, more than development in any country, reduction of economic disparities are expected in democracy. I hope, children, you still remember what is meant by economic disparity. It is an unequal distribution of wealth in the society. That is, rich becoming more richer and poor becoming more poorer. Right? So, when the development of a society takes place, it should be an overall economic growth and development. Because normally what we can see is only one section of the society enjoys all the facilities provided, whereas the other section of the society is deprived of all these facilities. Therefore, when a country achieves the economic growth, then the wealth of a country should be distributed in such a way that all the citizens of a country will have a share and lead a better life. And therefore, we have a question, or we expect that is economic growth in democracies accompanied by the increasing inequalities among the people? Or do democracies lead to a just or a proper distribution of goods and opportunities? Now, the dilemma is democracies are based on political equality. That is, one can contest election, one can cast vote, one can elect their representatives, and so on. So, in democracies, you will find political equality. But parallel to the process of bringing every individuals into political arena equally, we find the growing economic inequalities. Now here in this particular map, if you try to understand, when the wealth is distributed, 1% of the population who falls under the rich section enjoys the maximum wealth distributed, whereas the 50% of the population which falls under the poor section gets very less wealth. Now, similarly, a small number of ultra rich enjoys a highly disproportionate share of wealth and incomes. Not only their own income increases, but also their share in the total income of the country has been increasing too. But those who are at the bottom of the society have very little to depend upon. And in that case, their incomes have been declining. Sometimes they find it difficult to meet their basic needs of life, such as food, clothing, then housing, education, and even health. As a result, in reality, what we see is democracies do not appear to be very successful in reducing the economic inequalities, the economic disparities, or in other words, we can say the economic gaps between the rich and the poor, right? An unequal distribution of the wealth among the rich and the poor. We find maximum wealth distributed among the rich rather than among the poor, right? And therefore, we find a gap between the rich and the poor, wherein rich becoming more richer and poor is becoming more poorer with decline in his income, right? Now, in the economics textbook of class 9, you have already studied about poverty in India in detail, isn't it? Now, based on that, we can say that in a democratic country like India, the poor constitute a large proportion of our voters, and no party will like to lose their votes. Why do they have this fear of losing their votes in poor section? It is because, as we have already seen, that the poor constitute a large proportion of our votes. But these poor, if they feel that their basic needs are not fulfilled or are ignored by the government or by the political party which has won the election because of their votes. So, what they will do in the next election, it is quite natural that they will not cast their vote for the same political party. And no party will like to lose their votes. But still, you will find that democratically elected governments do not appear to be as keen to address the question of poverty as you would expect them to. Or, in other words, you can say they are not keen to focus their agenda on reducing the economic inequalities. Now, children, in democracies, people expect these inequalities to be reduced, whereas this may not be the case in dictatorial government, wherein people do not keep such expectations at all. But over the period of time, looking at the increasing slums, people have experienced that democracy is not successful in reducing this economic disparity. Or we can say that the rate of inequality reduction is very slow. When we talk about the world, the situation is much worse in some other countries. For example, in Bangladesh, more than half of its population lives in poverty. People in many poor countries are dependent on the rich countries even for their food supply. That is, we can say that the underdeveloped and the developing countries are dependent on the developed countries even for the food supply. So this was about the reduction of economic inequality. Was it possible or is it possible in democracies? That is what we have seen. Now we will see how the social diversity is accommodated by democracy. Let us see how successful is democracy in this issue. Now, children, in a dictatorial or monarchical form of government, you cannot expect a social diversity. But in a democratic country like India, where you find people belonging to different caste, class, religion, region, and so on, you can expect the accommodation of social diversity. Therefore, our question is, do democracies lead to a peaceful and harmonious life among citizens? We, as the citizens of the democratic country, expect that democracy should produce a harmonious social life. In the previous chapter, we have seen how democracies accommodated various social divisions. In the first chapter itself, we have seen how Belgium has successfully negotiated differences among the ethnic populations. Democracies usually develop a procedure to conduct their competition, and this reduces the possibility of such tensions becoming explosive or violent. Children, remember, no society can fully and permanently resolve conflicts among different groups. But we can certainly learn to respect their differences, and we can also evolve the mechanism to negotiate the differences. To produce this kind of outcomes, democracy is the best suited form of government. The non democratic regimes, like dictatorial or monarchical form of government, often turn a blind eye to or try to suppress the internal social differences. So, it is the plus point of democracy that it has an ability to handle the social differences, divisions, and conflicts. But if that is the situation, then, as per the first chapter, why we could not see such kind of accommodation in Sri Lanka, though the government in Sri Lanka is democracy. For that, there are two conditions that a democracy must fulfill to achieve the outcome of accommodation of social diversity. And they are, first of all, it is necessary to understand that democracy is not simply a rule by majority opinion, as we see in Sri Lanka, wherein they did not accept accommodation but majoritarianism. Children, the social differences is between majority and minority in the society, and that has to be reduced. Therefore, the majority always needs to work with the minority. It can be on the basis of caste, religion, etc. So, the function of the government is to represent the general view. We have to always remember that the majority and minority opinions are not permanent. Secondly, children, it is also necessary to understand that the rule by majority does not become rule by majority community in terms of religion or race or linguistic groups. Here, you have to understand that there is a difference between this statement and one of the features of democracy that you have already studied in class 9. That is, decision making should be based on majority consent. This means that in democracy, the government should be formed on the basis of majority in terms of vote and not in terms of majority in religion or race or a linguistic group. That is, if in India the population of Hindus is more, so Hindus will form the government, or Hindi speaking people are in majority, so they will form the government. No, it means in democracy, whoever gets the majority in the election will form the government. Hence, democracy remains democracy only as long as every citizen has a chance of being in majority at some point of time. If someone is barred from being in majority on the basis of birth, then the democratic rule ceases or ends to be accommodative for that person or a group. I hope, children, the topic of reduction of inequality and poverty, and also about accommodation of social diversity, is clear to you all. In the next part of our chapter, we will try to understand about how democracy promotes dignity and freedom of the citizens. Till then, children, take good care of your health and have a good day.